You're watching Morning Live. Time for your final sports bulletin, and this hour is going to be focused in on the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon, because there's less than 50 days to go till the virtual event on the 18th of October. The organisers announced that they will be hosting a unique elite event on the day, featuring 41 athletes in 3 venues running the standard marathon distance. No spectators will be allowed on the routes in the different cities, but it will be broadcast on SABC2. It's the first competitive race in months, with clubs offering incentives for their runners, and we'll see Olympians facing off with the best from ultramarathon running. I chatted to race ambassador Elana Meyer to explain the event a little bit further.
We will have one bubble run in Potchefstroom, one run in Pretoria, and then, obviously one in the mother city in Cape Town. So we have got 10 elite men and 10 elite women. That's part of the invitational, and then another 10 wildcard men and women that will be participating over the 3 venues. So each venue will have about between 12 and 16, top-notch runners competing against each other. So 6 o'clock in the morning, the gun will go off, and all these runners will start their marathon. All of them will run at the same time, being on the app, being tracked on the app. And the TV coverage will cover all 3 venues, so the the fans will be able to watch the elite race taking place in 3 different cities, but competing against each other. So obviously to factor in make it a fair competition, we have also brought in an altitude calculator that will ensure that there is, like a handicap time for Cape Town at sea level compared to Potchefstroom and Pretoria, at 1,400 meters of altitude. So the athletes will run real time against each other, and then, obviously there will still be a fastest time at each venue, but the best performance will be determined by, incorporating the altitude, by using the altitude calculator.
Will there be prize money for the best overall male and female performance?
So we have incorporated some incentives for the athletes. I think it's been a really tough year. There's many athletes that do it as a profession. They train year in, year out, and that's their livelihood. So Sanlam has been a fantastic partner during this challenging times, and we will be putting up some incentives for the athletes, per venue, per location, and then also for the overall performance, and also make sure that the elite invitational athletes will walk away with something in the pocket.
Effectively, you're going to be having 3 bio bubbles around the country in the lead up to the Cape Town Marathon. How are you going to ensure the safety and the integrity of those bubbles?
So we're obviously working very close with the authorities to ensure that we do have, all COVID compliance in place, and make sure it is a safe event for, mini event for the athletes to participate in. It will be tiny little races, with 12 to 16 runners setting off, and like other sports continued in a bubble without spectators, we will follow exactly the same. Each location will be treated, as a mini event, and we will have, road closures, and ensure, for us, the safety of the runners, is of the highest concern.
So you've got an altitude calculator. What about a incline-decline calculator? Because running in 3 venues, you can't have exactly the same incline and decline or elevation in exactly the same places over the laps that you're going to be running the 42.2 kilometer race.
Yes, absolutely. I think sort of for the open race, you're free to run wherever you are. You're free to run, downhill. You're free to run, with wind at your back. But for the Elite Invitational, we will have 3 venues with loop courses. So obviously we try and get as sort of fast and flat courses, in the 3 different locations to make it as fair as possible. This year has been a year that has been different for all of us. But I think, working on loops and, trying to get it as flat as possible using the altitude calculator is still trying to create as fair competition as possible. I think, certainly, with a broadcast, you will also be able to, to see, where the athletes are running. And, we can actually compare, the athletes running in Potchefstroom versus Pretoria versus Cape Town. And ultimately, it really is creating an opportunity for these athletes to run a race. To give the fans the opportunity to watch and support them, and to have an opportunity for everybody to be part of it wherever you are. So we are taking Cape Town to the rest of the world.
Okay, as a former professional, can you run a personal best outside of a race environment, outside of a traditional race environment?
Well, I certainly think you can. I think, the little bubble competitions, within the bubbles, we've got phenomenal athletes. We've got athletes that's, Stephen McCorker, he's one of the best athletes in the world, finishing 5th last year in the World Championships. So, with great talent, and you give them the freedom to run as fast as they can, I certainly think that we will see some really good performances. Often you also get, younger athletes that maybe stress up before a big competition. This will be, a slightly less intense environment. And I think, there you will see athletes that actually, maybe perform better than, having all the big, nerves before a very big competition with 30, 40, 50,000 people, lining up to compete. So, who knows? We will have to tune in on the 18th of October and follow these extraordinary athletes and see, what they will give.
The dreamer and the optimist in me just got incredibly excited when you started talking like that specifically. And I thought, wow, imagine we could see a South African record. If there is a record run, would it stand, though, in the record books?
So unfortunately, these won't necessarily be times that will be ranked on the World Athletics site. But, it will be times and efforts that will be recognized. The app makes it the most accurate tracking system, of athletes. So the phone in combination with a watch, we certainly will know that athletes, have run the full distance. The courses that we plan for the elite runners will actually be measured and certified. So we will know, from a federation recognition perspective, there has been no agreement that, these performances will be ranked on the lists. But I think you and me will know, the fans will know, I think witnessing the performances on the day, we will be able to recognize some fantastic performances and give recognition to athletes that trained hard, during months of lockdown. And I think ultimately that will, give them the satisfaction, the confidence, to move into 2021, I think with a very positive looking back of, 2020.
That was Olympic medalist and race ambassador for the Sanlam Cape Town Marathon, chatting to us about the virtual event and the special elite event that they're going to be having at 3 different venues around the country come the